Hello everyone. In this demo video we are going to discuss about CyberArk. Before we start the video, let's know about Upptalk. Upptalk is a live, interactive platform for software training, furnishing robust personalities who could take on universal business platforms. So, let's briefly know about CyberArk. CyberArk is a collection of account and security management tools designed to keep our gadgets, passwords, accounts, and other personal information safe. The topics we will cover in this video are: what is CyberArk? Privileged accounts introduction. CyberArk Overview. CyberArk solution components. Watch additional videos on the Upptalk channel to learn more about the most popular technologies. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel to learn more about trending technologies. Let's get started.
So the agenda that we will be following in this training will be, I will be giving you an introduction about what actually is a privilege accounts, because the CyberArk main motto is to protect the privilege accounts. So what exactly is the privilege accounts? And then a basic introduction to CyberArk, CyberArk overviews, its different components, the vault. We will be discussing all these components in details. CPM, PVWA, PSM, OPM, AIM, and the CyberArk architecture. So it will be a lengthy discussion of all the components, because CyberArk has a lot of different components which integrate within themselves and communicate over a specific single port. So these will be the topics that we will be discussing. It will cover all the installation of these components. Even the AD integration we will do, and SMTP integration, SNMP integration, all those we will be doing. So we will start from installation. During installation, we will be doing a lot of implementation also. So the various configurations we will be doing, and operation part, it will be like I will be providing a lot of use cases that are on daily basis being performed. In most of the organization, 80-90% of the work are common work, like password reset or account lockout or session not connecting, all those. So those scenarios we will be also working. So we will be dealing with different errors, how to overcome those, finding the root cause solutions, if we speak in terms of operations part. So once this installation is done, these will be the implementation steps we have to configure for the entire organization master policies, platforms. So we'll go through these all settings. It's just an agenda of this training. We will be going one by one to all of them. So first of all, what is a privilege account? I think most of you already knows about it. Let's say any account which provides administrative right to a machine are called privilege accounts. Means those accounts which have some superpower to do some administrative changes on that system are the privilege accounts. So let's say for a Windows server, the built-in administrator local account is called a privilege account, because it has admin rights to do anything on that system. So the highly privileged permission that are there on any systems, those accounts are privilege accounts, and CyberArk work is to secure, protect, monitor, audit these privilege accounts. For example, for our Unix devices, root accounts are our privilege accounts. So these are by default accounts. Apart from this built-in accounts that comes with the product itself, we can manually create other accounts also, whether it is a domain account or local account, and we can provide administrative privileges to those accounts. So what CyberArk do is it identify all the privilege accounts wherever they are in your organization and securely protect them inside the vault. So I hope it is clear what is a privilege account. These are valid credentials used to gain access to the system. So access to the system can be get from a non-privileged account also, but privileged account can modify anything inside that system. Okay. Then who all has this privilege accesses? Mostly, let's say we have a domain controller or Windows team, and that also we call it as a Wintel team. So in that Wintel team, there are administrators who have this privilege access to change any configurations on the Windows server. Similarly, for the cloud environment of our AWS Azure, we have the contractors ID that has different APIs by which they can log in inside their cloud environment. So those also have privilege accesses. Similarly, for database administrators, they have SA accounts, system administrator account. So this SA account is also a built-in account which has full permission uh, to add, modify, delete any instances within that database. Then the terminated employees. Uh, there may be instances if a organization privilege management is not fully centralized and an employee leaves from a organization, still he may have access to few of the servers. So that needs to be properly controlled somewhere. So if there is no central process where this can be tracked, then someone, a terminated employee, can also gain access to the system even after leaving the organization also. Similarly, we have applications also. So like most of the applications that are in HTML, .NET or uh, Java based, to run a lot of background processes within that application, there are embedded credentials that are required. So those embedded credentials, password are never rotated. Even the application owners do not know, and they also hesitate to rotate this password because otherwise they have a fear that the application may stop responding to the APIs call that are coming. So these embedded credentials within the applications should also be protected, and CyberArk provides that features to manage the application's account also. So these all uh, identities have the privilege accesses. So okay, so these people have privilege access. Then now how why are breaches happening? You would have noticed after every few days some or the other breaches happening in our atmosphere. So these breaches are mainly happening because of the privilege accounts leakage. Until and unless a hacker gets access to a system and gain the privilege accounts login credential, uh, that is the main cause of any breach. So mainly its reason is in every team shared accounts are being used. Let's say we have a team of 5 people and they are using the same username password and it's been shared with each team member. So that is a wrong approach because we don't know out of those 5, 6 team members, anyone can share that password to Exciter also. Also, in that problem is there is a something called non-repudiation. If same credential are being used and any changes to a system happen and we try to figure out who did it, we will not get to know because there is no mechanism who actually used that account because it's a shared accounts. So due to these, lot of breaches are happening. Another reason is excessive privileges. Let's say we have someone from operation team and his day-to-day activity is just to monitor the privilege accounts, whether their password rotation and PSM connections are working fine or not. But since their access management is not properly configured, so a person who should have very limited access, he is also granted with the admin rights or more level of access, which he should not be granted. So these granulism of access permissions to different level can be set up in CyberArk. So here mostly we divide like admin privileges, owner privileges, approver, normal user, administrator. So different access levels are being configured within CyberArk, and accordingly, whatever a role of a person is there, those privileges are given to that person. And within CyberArk, he can perform only those activities. Then the next reason for these breaches happening is non-existent and unenforced access control. Let's say someone has been granted some excessive privileges, but no one knows what exactly he has done on that system. Uh, for example, usually what happens is in our IT world, we raise a change request for doing any changes on a server. And in that change request, let's say my task was just to restart a service. Okay. So we will get approvals. Okay. A user with any shared accounts, he will log into that server on a particular time and he has to restart that service. But there is no access control mechanism what exactly that person has done on that system. He can log into that system. Let's say change window is from particular time, but he can log in earlier also, late also. He can continue login for one day or whatever. So, and within that server, he can perform different activity. He can shut down the server and all those things. He can do anything. So those unenforced access control are missing. And CyberArk provide these CyberArk overcomes all these breaches reasons. For example, this one which I am telling right now, we have something called session monitoring and recording, where uh, we can restrict a user to run particular applications or command, and even that also, whatever a user is doing within a server, everything is being recorded in their keystrokes are also recorded, as well as their live video recordings are there. So we'll come into that how CyberArk overcome these breaches. And the one of the another main reason of these breaches is infrequent replacement of credentials. Usually, all the legacy servers they come out of the box with few built-in accounts, and the different platform teams they hesitate to rotate their password because same password is being embedded into other application also, and due to which there are a lot of dependencies within multiple applications or server, and their credentials should be same. So they hesitate to change on one of the server. So this is also it's so due to this reason, it gives access to one of the very common attack which we call as pass the hash attack. It means if a user gets unintentional access to one of the server. So usually Windows Server, how authentication happens? Everything happens. We provide username, password, but at the back end, it's Kerberos authentication that happens. So for every logins, there are tickets generated, and those tickets has some tokens, and the tokens have some TTL, time to live. So that is set. Let's say, for example, for 1 hour. If I have been authenticated to one of the server using that token, there may be other Windows server also by which I can gain access. So This pass the hash attack vulnerabilities. These can be identified within CyberArk and controlled. We will come into this also, how we can manage all these breaches. Then the common risk that are there right now is one of them is shared account, lack of accountability. Shared account should not be used. First of all, if they are being used, we should have some accountability who exactly is using, and in CyberArk we can identify shared account also in terms of particular person who is using it. Same password for multiple system, that also which give rise to pass the hash attacks. Different also this gives uh, due to this same password for multiple system, it gives uh, due to this something called as lateral movement also happens, which should not be there. So CyberArk stops this lateral movement of having same password on different systems. No track of privilege user section. So they no one knows what exactly a user is doing on the system. Within CyberArk, these will be tracked. We have something called EPM, Endpoint Privilege Manager, which we configure with all the permissions, also with the restrictions with a particular role of a user, what all he can do on a system. And last is the weak password management. Usually, uh, they don't enforce strong passwords. So most of the time, even a high privilege server, its password name is itself is a password. Let's say because they try to remember it. So CyberArk provides a very complex and mixed case characters. So those will not be easy to crack. So it also depends upon the organization uh, policies, how they are configured in their Active Directory, or for local standalone server, we can define our own password policies. But most of the time we comply with the organization AD policies because those are also coming from their GPOs. So below are some screenshots like which signifies some of the very big attacks that happened earlier, due to which there was a very big financial loss to the company. And even financial loss is fine. The reputation that that disturbs about the company impacts a lot about their business. They lose trust within their competitors, and they may lose the business completely as well. So you can imagine how critical it is to secure their privilege accounts. 48% of data breaches were caused by privilege misuse. So half of the attacks are with due to this reason itself. Let's now move to CyberArk. So how we can achieve uh, controlling these privilege accounts. So so this is just an overview of CyberArk, and this slide is a bit old also. I will come up with the latest slide. So even till now, CyberArk is a trusted expert in PAM solution. Uh, from the Gartner report and a lot of other reports that gets released every quarter, CyberArk is continuously maintained at #1 position in terms of managing the privilege accounts. There are other competitors as well for CyberArk like Thycotics, Beyond Trust, HashiCorp Vault. But CyberArk is the leading expert. So here you can see the biggest customer for CyberArk is Deutsche Bank, and there are a lot of thousands of such customers. Uh, the reason I am saying about this because I have myself worked on Deutsche Bank. I have done the installation. That's why. So, what is the need of this CyberArk solution, and what are the benefits we will get? So in the previous slide, uh, it's almost same only. What is the need of CyberArk? So first need is it, it is needed to ensure improved risk mitigation controls around the privilege access. So we should enforce some centralized control for our privilege accounts. This is the need, and CyberArk solution will enable uh, this our need by securing, provisioning, managing, controlling, and monitoring all activities associated with privilege accounts. So whatever activities are being performed on any system by any user using any accounts, it will be securely stored inside a vault. There will be a lot of provision of encrypting the data inside vault, as well as whatever communications that are going from end user machine to the target device. It will be encrypted. Uh, uh, SSL communications will be there. Those HTTPS connections from the end user browser to the target device. So everything will be properly uh, secured. The monitor part will be coming once we will talk about the PSM components. So CyberArk can monitor all the activities as well. So this need of an organization is being mitigated by the CyberArk with this benefit. Next need why we need CyberArk is password of the privilege accounts on the server are distributed among end user, which was a security breach. So there is no control about how many systems we have, how many different user passwords, and how they are distributed within different team members. So there is no centralized mechanism to control these credentials, and its benefit we will be getting in CyberArk. All these accounts will be securely vaulted within the CyberArk, and their access will be governed by different workflows, and those workflows will determine which user will be having which access to a particular system. End user access to this privilege account is not monitored. So no one is monitoring this access. In CyberArk, we will be monitoring it using a PSM. And once, so different implementations we will be doing. One of them is like automatically change the privilege account and secure them in a tamper-proof container. It means we will be conferring something called as OTP, one-time password. So once a user access a server, the password will be rotated automatically. Even above that, one more implementation that is highly recommended is exclusive use. It means at a particular given time, only one user should be allowed to access a server using one account. So another user will be able to use that account once the first user that is actually using it should check in that account within the CyberArk. So this will help us to overcome the non-repetition, which determines at a particular time who is using which account. So the need, one of another need is efficient way of deprovisioning with appropriate system control. So providing access is fine, but once a user leave an organization, how we are removing those access? There is no control. In CyberArk, we have a lot of implementations for a deprovisioning of access, where we monitor, let's say we can generate a report of a user who hasn't logged in from last 1 year, or his account is disabled. So those deprovisioning, there are a lot of discovery rules and other automated rules we create, via which CyberArk will be deprovisioning those accounts if they are not in use for a particular time. So these decision makings are done when we discuss about the high level design document of CyberArk. There we define the master policies and all the platform policies that needs to be defined. And later on, we go with the low level design where the basic terminology of different policies, platform or safes, their naming conventions, how they are distributed within different platform owners. Those things will be going in the LLD. And next need is need for automated password management. Like right now, without CyberArk, people are manually changing their password, and th- even if they are changing, they know the password. So the main reason of CyberArk is no one should know the password. They We should be having access to a server without knowing the password of it. That is the main benefit of CyberArk. So this is the main solution architecture, you can say, or the components of the CyberArk. Here at the bottom, we have various servers which we need to access or manage within the CyberArk. Inside CyberArk, we have something called Digital Secure Vault. So this vault is the main central repository of all the accounts or the configurations that we do. Uh, Different layers of protections for securing those credentials are within the vault itself. So this vault uh, we have different architecture for having this vault. Let's say high availability vault we can configure, or a cluster vault, standalone vault, disaster recovery vault, distributed vault. So different ways we can manage our digital vault. But the main purpose of digital vault is just to store the data, nothing else. And that too also tamper proof. No one can edit any data stored in the vault. Then above vault, it comes the master policy. It it defines the centralized, the top layer policy of the privilege management uh, for their password rotation as well as for their making connections. Let's say few of the master policies are require. One of them is require reason. So whenever a user will connect to the device, they have to specify a reason. So ideally, if we enforce users in the require reason section, they should provide the change number. And that change number, once we do integration with our ticketing tool like ServiceNow or other ticketing tool, the way we implement these tools, it automatically verifies whether this user who log into CyberArk has raised this change request from that particular time and that change is valid or not. So those lot of use cases we implement. Another master policy is whether we need to record the sessions. If we have to record for how many days it will be stored in a company, let's say the retention policy is of 1 year. So all the data will be stored in the vault for those particular days. So we will see one by one whatever uh, configurations we can do in the master policy. So at this moment, you can understand in master policy, we just define the organization high level permissions that are there for password management and for connecting to the devices. Then inside our CyberArk, we have a lot of components. Uh, Combining all these components makes the full use of managing these privilege accounts. So on top of it is we call EPM, Enterprise Password Vault. Its main task is to make the connections for all the privilege accounts from end device to target device using by communicating to all the other components. Let's say uh, when a when a user tries to connect a device from his machine, the connection will be going to the CyberArk PSM. We will be going into that also. So that connection is also secure, and or port 1858 is required for those connection. And from privilege session manager, the session will go to the target devices. Uh, that connection will depends upon the target device, whether it is let's say if it is SH then 22 port, it will be connecting, or RDP ports or DB ports. So enterprise password vault will secure all the connections that are going in into the digital vault. Uh, Next component is privilege session manager. We call it PSM. So its main, so all this whatever I'm saying right now, these are individual servers. We can combine this server also. Let's say on a particular server, we can install this also, this also, this also, this also. But in actual production environment, they are always separate servers because the reason is they have each of these component has their own hardening scripts, and in during the hardening they restrict lot of group policies that are coming from the GPUs. So those GPUs are being modified. Let's say for PSM, a particular GPU value should be something else, but for CPM, its value would be something else. So we will be installing all these component on a separate servers. So PSM task is to make connection from PSM server to the target device, and there will not be a direct connection from my device to the uh, target device. So it will be kind of a proxy session between uh, me and my device. So even if someone has got a control to my traffic that is going, they will not be able to manipulate anything without within that session, because connection is not going from end user, it is will be going from PSM servers. So during that session, whatever user is doing, all the activities, or if he is storing some files, copy pasting some drives, everything will be stored within the PSM, not in the uh, end user device. So once this session is also done, finally every keystrokes, whatever user has done, their session recordings, they will be stored within the digital vault in a secure way. So like whatever we are saying right now, they have different uh, process to implement it. And once we will be going into the lab and doing this installation, step by step, I will be showing you how these things are being implemented. So as of now, you can just imagine PSM is just used for making connection to the target device. So this needs to be decided during the initial phase of installation, not even installation before that. So let's say a company decide to use CyberArk as a product. So initially we have a lot of pre-sales activities, a lot of architecture, design the solution. So during designing, and once designing is done, uh, the customer gives a lot of requirements that they need to achieve these all parameters, and one of the customer requirement themselves, so it's a customer choice whether they have to store the data for 1 year, 2 year, 2 months. So during our architecture designing itself, we got to know also in their uh, if their application database or AD, it is already every organization has defined it, so they don't change. And what I have seen, most of the company retention policies are either 3 year or 5 year, and I think that is enough. So once we get the requirement, we prepare the use cases, how their requirements will be achieved within CyberArk. So one of the use case will be this retention policy. So this will be agreed between the customer. Okay, let's say we will. So it can be different also. So in master policy, we will define one global policy, let's say for 3 years. But there may be separate platform owners. Let's say Windows team say, no, no, we require it for 5 years. But Unix team will say, we require it for 6 months. So those different configurations we can do within the platform policies. So within this master policy, we will be coming to that also. If different server owners or teams has different requirements of this time duration, that we can set within the platform policies, and that policy will be added as an exception within the master policy. So this is customizable.
And is it the same that initially you said that it is It is actually choice that we want to maintain four different servers for like EPV, PSM, and
Yes.
the rest of the two, or we want to maintain one server with all these four components. So
So
is it the choice of the customer or CyberArk admin how we want to go about it?
So it will not be a choice of customer. It is recommendation from CyberArk. All these components should be installed on separate server, and it's not just four servers. When we do a production implementation, usually these server are like 50 server or 60 server because each components it will not be a one component. There will be separate sites. Geographically, it's distributed. So depending upon the uh, customer geographical locations, how their data centers are distributed, that defines how many servers we require. For example, our target is usually something called CPM is also about to come, which work is to rotate the password. And PVWA means it's a web portal where end user will log in. So I just tried mean to say, if a company data centers are located, let's say in five different uh, countries, let's say, so we will prefer to use five CPMs so that when the password rotation will happen, it will be fast. It will not be having a load on a centralized CPM. Similarly, if their users are distributed across, let's say, 20 countries or 20 data centers, so our PVW should be closer to the user so that the communication will be faster while they are accessing the server. So these all things come when we do the architecture designing of a solution. How many servers are required? There are a lot of formulas also. How many storage is required? Also, we need to define how much bandwidth of internet connection is required because everything will be going via WAN connection, LAN connection. So those all these things needs to be discussed, and we have formulas for this. It's nothing like we will just on a fly decide.
All right.
Uh, let's say there is a small company, it has very limited users and accounts, and it's not also distributed across different geographies. For such companies, we can use same server that is acting as a different components. Let's say same server is my PVW also, my PSM also. But uh, whatever I have seen, if a company can afford CyberArk as a product in installation, they don't have any issues with the different servers store. And nowadays, storage or the VMs or the servers, uh, they are not at all expensive. So I think no one hesitates about using number of VMs. But in our lab environment, let's say for demo purpose, here we can do it. Same server, we will be making it PSM also, PVW also, all those.
All right.
So then comes our AIM, Application Identity Manager. Uh, its task is to just uh, fetch all the hard-coded credentials that are there in application. So we will be going to all these components in separate slides. Let's say when we log into a Facebook website and provide our username and password. So at the background, there are other embedded credentials as well, via which my browser is going to the Facebook server where the data is maintained and my authentication is being uh, validated. So those embedded credentials are also managed within CyberArk. Otherwise, if someone get control to that traffic, he can manipulate those embedded credential, and unwanted access uh, can get to a user. Our next component is OPM, on-demand privilege managers. It is something Mostly it is used for, let's say, for help desk employees or some contractors where they don't require permanent accesses. Uh, so that can also be implemented in CyberArk. For example, a help desk user in a Unix team, uh, his day-to-day activities are just to check some services are running or unlocking accounts, blocked accounts. But if they require on time to time basis, they can elevate their privileges. If they need to change some end user password, then they can log in as a root also. So those configurations can be implemented in CyberArk. On time to time, how you can, first of all, which user can elevate their privileges and how much privileges maximum they can elevate, whether it will be going for approvals or it will be auto approve. So this we will be doing when we will be installing OPM also. So in the left hand side, these are the external users, mostly which uses the target devices. There can be external vendors or internal IT employees, auditors, developers. So every user has different roles. Like auditor doesn't require any access to the servers for checking the password or making the connection. Auditors just require to see the sessions that are going. So these access mechanism for different external users or internal users that can be managed within CyberArk, and these access are managed within something we called as a safe. Inside safe, we provide permissions to users, and not a user. It will be every time it will be via groups and AD groups we will be recommending. So we will be coming to safes also, the different permissions, default permissions, and what all permissions these users should be having. So a lot of templates are there for these permissions. Uh, I have created a PowerShell script also, which mainly it work is to create the safe, uh, map the different groups, let's say auditor group, administrator group, normal user group. So those groups will be mapped to that safe, and what permissions those group requires inside a safe, that will also map, and at the last user account onboarding will be done. So these things are done mainly in the Packly commands, and we have something called password upload utility via which uh, these privilege accounts will be onboarded within the safe. So we will be coming into that also one by one. It's and okay, at the right hand side we see some of the identities which will be integrating with cyber. Let's say identity management, we have a lot of IAM tools like SailPoint and others, by which this access management can be integrated. Similarly, for ticketing system, we will integrate with a lot of ticketing tools for our authentication, for our uh, just for validating whether a particular user is allowed or not, and accordingly those workflows will be triggered. We will be integrating with their SMTP servers, and that emails will be triggered as per the workflow we will be deciding. Then we will integrate with some of the SIM solutions like QRadar or other tools. So CyberArk can send this syslogs to the SIM solution, as well as will retrieve from SIM solution. We have something called one of the component is also here called PTA, privilege threat privilege threat management. So PTA means privilege threat analytics. So it work is to just detect if some abnormal activities are not going on, and those logs it is getting from the SIM solution mostly. Uh, but we will configure for other also, like it will get logs from AD, or from for some standalone server we will be installing the PT agents on those servers. and then the enterprise directory, like their active directory, or maybe they can have their in-house some directory where which they are using for user authentications. Apart from this, there are other identity also which we will be integrating in CyberArk, via which our privilege account will be more controlled and secure.